The Traxxas Rustler 4-wheel drive. This truck has actually been running really good. However, it's time for some mods. Take a look. So what I've got in the truck is a Z-Run 4000 kV Hobbywing motor, a Castle Mamba Monster X ESC, FlySky GT5 Radio, a MyLapse transponder, a Savox 1258 Servo, and Traxxas / GTR Shocks. When changing out the shocks, all you need is a 2mm wrench. Pretty simple. Super LCG now. As you can see, there's a pretty serious upgrade going on here. These new slash shocks are absolutely awesome. There is a link in the description below. Shocks went on perfectly. If you look at the ends, there's actually a bigger flange that's supposed to be to the outside. Just in case this happens to get loose, it can actually catch that and not fall completely off. To remove the ESC, you got to take those two screws out, and it's a 2mm hex wrench. And this right here comes off. Now, to get to your receiver, you've got to take the little top cap off, which is 2mm hex, and then the two bolts over here are 2.5mm hex. And if you want to remove the antenna, that little dude down there, that little screw that holds this in place, uses a 1.5mm hex. The receiver is held in place inside the box with some two-sided tape. Just simply peel it out and try not to crack the case. I did not crack my case, but I've seen cases cracked. To remove the motor, you got to take the cover loose with this bolt right here, 2mm hex. Down here, this little wire holder, 2mm hex. And then right here is a single bolt you take loose and you can have the motor assembly out. And that is a 2.5mm hex. With the motor out, you take these two screws right here off, which are 2mm hex. And on the pinion, you have a little set screw, which is 1.5mm hex. To get to the steering servo, you've got to take 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. And those are 2.5mm hex. And the entire assembly comes forward and off. When you get the front assembly loose, you're going to have to peel it down a little bit before forward. There's your front drive shaft. Make sure that is lined back up on the splines. You can see with the bell crank that Traxxas has some nice bearings in here, which is pretty darn nice. And there's access to your servo. You can either change it out with a stock one if you're just replacing it, or in my case, upgrade time. When changing out servos on a Traxxas vehicle, sometimes the servos don't exactly fit perfectly. Like the holes are a little bit too far apart, but they do seem to fit fine after you just kind of, split the difference. Now, Traxxas does have some nice new brushless servos, and there are links in the description on how to get those. It's all back in place, and it was kind of a little bit of a pain to get all this stuff back together, but it does kind of snap back in together. And once you get it there, just kind of give it a turn and make sure there's no binding and all that. So you saw me take everything out. Putting it all back in is just simply putting it back in using the same bolts and all that. Now the ESC is glued down with some amazing goop. Also pretty much close to the same thing as shoe goo. And I'll let that sit overnight. So anyway, this thing is ready to go. So let's take it out and see how fast it goes, and then maybe hit some jumps or something. Okay, so I got 42 miles per hour, 2S with a 4,000 kV motor and a 17 tooth pinion. That's actually fairly good, and it's very raceable. This thing handles really good. It's balanced well. It actually turns really good. Hopefully we can figure out some nice race tires that'll fit this thing and be legal for the race classes, so I can actually put this thing on a track and see if it'll hold its own. I mean, I would have to say at this point the truck will hold its own on a track because it handles really good. The GTR Shocks really done great as far as, you know, keeping the truck under control. The motor's got more power. The ESC can deliver more power, and the servo, with it being a lot faster, it makes it a lot more responsive. So yeah, I really like the truck, and I like the mods that are in it. Thank you all for watching.